This is the first time I have played outside my house in a very long time. Coming off the back of a year where I've been in my house for more time than I've ever really been in one place, I think, certainly for the last 10 years of my life. And I feel very fortunate to be able to play in such an incredibly beautiful space and bring a little bit of Leicester to whoever's out there tuning into this. I was born and raised in Leicester, and I've pretty much always lived here. And I live in the west end of the city, which is an incredibly busy and interesting and diverse place to live. And it's been a very strange time during the pandemic to see and hear the absence of so much life in that side of the city. And this is a song that I actually started writing around about this time last year, at the beginning of 2020, long before it all went so bizarre. I was preparing to go to Australia. I toured in Australia at the beginning of last year, and I think the idea of being so far away from where I have always been had kind of an effect on me. I ended up writing something that was sort of a love song about Leicester, and particularly the kind of sounds that make it feel like home to me. And I can't wait to hear the city full of life again. This is called Great Central Way. We took the 101 out of Oregon, in the shadow of the redwoods down the Golden State. We took the coast all day to San Francisco Bay. We didn't stop until we hit the Golden Gate. And I have seen lives beyond my years, seen open roads with no end in sight. But my rambling heart, it won't be unchained from where its anchor lies. And when the foxes score, I hear the roar from my front door. And when the river soar bears me back to shore, then I will run no more. Seen the Rockies arise up into clear blue skies. I've watched the black forest shear beneath electric storms. I've seen the oceans meet at 50,000 feet, and carve foundations just 3 miles from where I'm born. Yeah, I have lived lives beyond my years, seen open roads with no end in sight. But my rambling heart, it won't be unchained from where its anchor lies. And when the foxes score, I hear the roar from my front door. And when the river soar bears me back to shore, then I will run no more, run no more. have lived lives beyond my years, seen open roads with no end in sight. But this rambling heart, it won't be unchained from where it's anchored lies. And when the foxes score, I hear the roar from my front door. And when the river soar bears me back to shore, then I will run no more, run no more. Yeah, when the foxes score, I hear the roar from my front door. And when the river soar bears me back to shore, and when the river soar washes me clean and pure, and when the river soar bears me back to shore, then I will run no more. So when I was trying to think about what would be the most appropriate songs to sing here, I was sort of thinking about the kind of road less travelled and what that means. And I've kind of got a selection of songs that I think I maybe don't play very often, and some new ones. But all of them sort of touch on that idea of places that I've been, and then that idea of home and home on the road. And I wrote this song in 2015, and it was about the first time that I played, or the first time I went to Canada in 2015. I was playing at Vancouver Folk Festival, and I was with my very dear friend and bandmate Caitlin Field, who I'm sure many folks will have seen me play with before. And we'd sort of had this, hatched this drunken harebrained scheme to try and end up in Canada in the pub. And we said, let's just try and do it. Let's just see if we can just get a tour together in Canada. And it turns out that Canada is the friendliest and most amenable place in the world. So if two English idiots just rock up and say, could we do some gigs? It's pretty easy to get away with that, actually. And we had a very interesting time. We flew into Calgary, and we flew into Calgary in the middle of something called Stampede, which is a 10-day cowboy festival that takes over the entire city of Calgary. And we turned up and we didn't know anything about Stampede, we'd never heard of it. We turned up at our Airbnb just both wearing plaid shirts. And the Airbnb host said, "Oh, you dressed up for Stampede?" And we thought, no, we're just lesbians. This is how we dress. So this is a song that I wrote about our adventures on that tour, and some of the best days of my life, travelling through Canada, west of Vancouver. It's called On the Road to BC. I guess it's. Alberta forest we first met, you offered me a cigarette and I didn't pause for thought. Followed down that campfire path, listening to you laugh at how I spoke. I think girls like you were born to make girls like me make mistakes I never even thought. Sparked a light beside you, never even tried to tell you I don't smoke. I was on the road to BC, stopped in Calgary, AB. We were headed west to meet our fates in Vancouver and the States, and see what destiny awaits for me in BC. Well, through many dangers, toils and snares, turbulence and baggage fares, we had already come. Sailed across the clouds and picked up 7 hours to land in Stampede Town. And later in this ship and anchor, when I acted like a wanker, you generously pretended to be charmed when I chanced my arm on my last night in town. Then we were on the road to BC. We were on the road to BC. You said that mountain drive, it'll be so pretty, and good luck out there in the city, and have a beer for me in BC. So we got into our backwards car, the roads mocked our idea of far. We drove more than a day, and it would take a better songwriter than me to paint the Rockies using words. Well, I'd never taken my 3 chords and clumsy words to foreign shores, and my bandmate and me took a deep breath each and tried to show Jericho Beach something unheard. And they blew our minds in BC. Yeah, the world was mine in BC. And I lost my heart unto that city, but I always fell in love too quickly. And I know there's a part of me still in BC. In BC. Well, now living's more than clocking age. When I stood on that Vancouver stage and tried to still the time, I knew that there was something here that I'd been looking all my years to find. And though many friends adorned that quest, new and old and brief and best, still you stayed in my mind. And every mile that passed beneath my feet, I felt I'd left something behind. When I was on the road to BC, when I was on the road to BC, yeah, that mountain drive was just so pretty, but I wish you'd flown out to the sea to meet me by the sea. In BC, in BC, in BC, in BC. And I know this nonsense is the stuff that the greatest daydreams are made of. And I know myself just well enough to know all I love is the thought of love. But you made me see I can still daydream. Yeah, because baby, I felt like I was 16 on the road to BC, to BC, to BC, to BC. Now when you're living dreams, the time goes fast. I blinked, 2 more weeks went past and I'm sat in LA, about to board a plane that's gonna take me 5,000 miles away. But through the sky and across the water, home means more than bricks and mortar, and still I know my way. I swore to make it back someday, and that's when you messaged me to say you were on your way to BC. You were on your way to BC. And that ocean view is just so pretty, but you wished I was still in the city to meet you at the sea. In BC, in BC, in BC. If anybody is watching this from Ireland, then you will know that I have had variously unsuccessful attempts to break into the Irish scene, and I've been to Ireland a few times now, and I love Ireland. And I've met some really, really, really cool people playing in Ireland. But one of the funniest gigs that I've ever had, for probably all the reasons you don't want a gig to be funny, was at the Roisin Dubh in Galway, and I'd kind of arrived in town, and obviously Galway is such a has such a rich musical history as a town, and I kind of couldn't wait to get stuck in. And I was playing, I think, on a Saturday night, and I was walking through the streets, and just out of every single doorway, I could just hear the most incredible music playing, the most incredible sessions and gigs, and it felt like there was just a million amazing shows on that night in Galway, which explains, perhaps generously to me, why I sold so few tickets for my own show in Galway. And I was walking through the streets of Galway to this show that I knew had sold, a very, very, very modest number of tickets indeed, and I could just hear these amazing sessions going on, and I thought, fair play, because even I don't want to be at my gig in Galway tonight. There seems like there's lots of better places to be. So, but I went, when I told one of my pals that I was going to Galway to play a gig, and she said, whatever you do, don't write a song about Galway, because obviously that's been done before. But I'm afraid to report that is precisely what I did. So this is a song about my gig in Galway, and no hard feelings, Galway. I really hope to make it back someday. It goes like this. Well, it's my first time tonight in Galway, and on every single street I can hear the hometown players, and I know I can't compete. I've got no audience to speak of, but I take it on the chin, 'cause I'm the worst thing on in town tonight, and it's €10 in. Well, the promoter's setting out all of the chairs that he can find. I tell him optimism isn't what I look for in his kind. Still, he's confident of walk-up, but I don't think we've got much chance. It's the first show of my life that was more expensive in advance. And I'll never be Ed Sheeran, and God knows I'm no Steve Earle. I'm 400 miles away tonight from my Derbyshire girl, and if temptation should befall me to overstate my worth, at least there's always Galways to bring me down to earth. Well, I've played rooms of hundreds that have never felt so loud, 'cause it's not the size of the crowd that's in the gig, but the gig that's in the crowd. And tonight they are heroic, their response enough to seem like they could fill a football stadium when they're a few short for a team. And we're halfway through the set list, and the finish line's in sight, when in come 5 drunk fellas, and they're making it a night. And one hollers, "Are you doing classics? Because if you are, we'll pay." And he's not convinced by my assertion that there'll be classics one day. 'Cause I'll never be Ed Sheeran, and God knows I'm no Steve Earle. I'm 400 miles away tonight from my Derbyshire girl, and if temptation should befall me to overstate my worth, at least there's always Galways to bring me down to earth. And I walked along the shoreline, I looked out across the bay, I felt the threat of creative juices overflowing to cliché. Oh, and I fought the inspiration, I swear I tried to hold it off. I said I'd never write a song here, 'cause this town has suffered enough. And I will never be Ed Sheeran, and God knows I'm no Steve Earle. I'm 400 miles away tonight from my Derbyshire girl, and if temptation should befall me to overstate my worth, at least there's always Galways to bring me down to earth. Well, guitar in hand, I'm walking to my hire car down the street. I can hear the hometown players, and I know when I'm beat. Someone asks me what my act is, and I can't suppress a grin when I say I was the worst thing on in town tonight for 10 euros in. So this is the we're heading into the what is going to be the second spring of the pandemic, and potentially the second spring in lockdown. And it got me thinking about this song that I don't really ever play, which was it was recorded as part of the sessions for the 2017 album Heart First Aid Kit. And then in between recording it and releasing the record, I just kind of went off it, I don't know why. So it never made it onto the album. But I think it is actually on YouTube. I think the audio was released on YouTube as part of a lyric video. But it's about, I wrote it, many years ago, about a kind of failed relationship of sorts, and when something hasn't worked out, or in my case when you've been dumped, and you kind of are in that period where you just you can't wait to not be thinking about it anymore. And I wrote just kind of a simple song about that. And then I sort of heard it the other day again. I was revisited it, and I thought, I think there's some elements of it, some of the sentiment I think is transferable to the idea of when coronavirus is behind us. Kind of talks about the things the happier times that lie ahead, and it's called "I Just Can't Wait to Be Over You," and dedicated to COVID. Well, I just can't wait to be over you. I just can't wait to see the winter through. Knowing I can't wait to shake this black dog. I'm sick of the sound of my inner monologue, yeah. Well, I just can't wait to be over you. If it's the last thing that I do, then I'll cross that finish line inch by inch. One day I'll hear that pop song and I won't flinch. But Easter's coming just around the corner, babe. That bank holiday weekend, I'll drink fruit cider in the sunshine with my friends. And I won't be thinking about you by then. Well, I just can't wait to be over you. I just can't wait to see the winter through. Knowing I can't wait to leave this behind and see that the stars, they never align. Well, I just can't wait to be over you. If it's the last thing that I do, then I'll see that what you meant to me was just mistaken identity. But Easter's coming just around the corner, babe. That bank holiday weekend, I'll drink fruit cider in the sunshine with my friends. And I won't be thinking about you by then. Well, it's just my nature, you know I don't mean nothing by it. Don't go thinking that I hate you, but I won't say I didn't try it. And all the hurt, you know it all just came to nothing. But girl, for what it's worth, I was bluffing. A single word would have stopped me in my tracks, but you were never one to ask. But Easter's coming just around the corner, babe. That bank holiday weekend, I'll drink fruit cider in the sunshine with my friends. And I won't be thinking about August coming just on the horizon, babe. That bank holiday weekend, oh, I'll be drinking in the sunshine with my friends. Yeah, I'll be drinking in the sunshine with my friends. Oh, I'll be drinking in the sunshine with my friends. And I won't be thinking about you by then. This is a song about IKEA. It's Wednesday evening in IKEA. There's just two kinds of people here, and in my life I have been both. The new team's at the starting line, committing to each room design like it was a permanent oath. But that's not me. I know these aisles. You can spot the ones like me for miles. There's no good-natured argument on taste. I have no need for compromise these days. There's no one saying we've been here too long, and I get exactly what I want. It's Wednesday evening in IKEA, and everywhere I look in here, a new team's trying to make themselves match. Those couples sharing meatball tea don't notice all the ghosts like me back here alone and starting from scratch. But spare a thought, but for the grace of ever disassembling shared space. Now there's no good-natured argument on taste. I have no need for compromise these days. There's no negotiations to concede, and I get exactly what I need. What I need. And to those optimistic lovers picking duvet covers, I wish them all the best from the bottom of my chest. And if they follow the instructions, there's no reason their constructions really shouldn't last. But who am I to ask? Because mine all fell apart, and I'm right back at the start, hoping I've not lost any fundamental parts. And I'm sure that I'll remember how it all fits back together, 'cause I know I'm not inadequately skilled. It's just some things take two people to build. It's Wednesday evening in IKEA, there's just two kinds of people here, and in my life I have been both. So when I first got home from, as I said, I was going to Australia at the start of last year, and I was there when the pandemic hit in a big way, and I had to come home early, pretty much straight into lockdown. And this is a song that I wrote about lockdown, and basically about the whole situation, about the entire pandemic, and how, you know, it's like nothing else we've ever lived through before. But ultimately I think it's, whilst it's kind of such a sort of wave of devastation, I think it has also opened the door for a lot of kindness and goodness and compassion, and the realization that at the end of the day, like, all we have is each other, you know? And this is a song about that. And it's called Storm to Weather, and it goes like this. Button down the hatches, love, the night is rolling in. The clouds are getting darker and you're scared of what they bring. You are searching the horizon for some sign, some little spark, a morning that will chase away the dark. Heavy was the winter, love, and what's become of spring? This demon came and got its claws in every little thing. Now there are miles and glass and distance that are keeping me apart from the beating of your strong and steady heart. And if it sinks, my darling, then just close your eyes and think of when you'll be in my arms again. There's a storm here to weather, the thunder's coming near, louder than ever, and we don't know where to steer. And though we can't be together, no matter what, my dear, I will love you forever, and we will dance again next year. I will love you forever, and we will dance again next year. This world is unfamiliar now, it's turned us all around. A sailboat in a hurricane and nothing's bolted down. And whichever way you turn, there is no sanctuary in sight, no path to some safe harbour in the night. But I am sailing right beside you, I am just out of arm's length, willing you remember you are wrought of iron strength. And I am hanging my tomorrows on the bones of yesterday, all I can do to make it through today. And when my heart sinks, my darling, then I fill my lungs and I think of when you'll be in my arms again. There's a storm here to weather, the thunder's coming near, louder than ever, and we don't know where to steer. And though we can't be together, no matter what, my dear, I will love you forever, and we will dance again next year. I will love you forever, and we will dance again next year. So best foot first, and hold on fast, and do your worst, this too will pass. And when it does, I'll be there to fill your glass. There's a storm here to weather, 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 the thunder's coming near, louder than ever, and we don't know where to steer. And though we can't be together, no matter what, my dear, I will love you forever, we will dance again next year. I will love you forever, and we will dance again next year. I will love you forever, and we will dance again next year. I will love you forever, and we will dance again next year. So even though I promised that these were all going to be fairly lesser played songs, I thought I can't really do a set of songs on the theme of home without doing this one, even though it is a mainstay of gigs. And this is a song that I wrote about the drive home after a show, which is something that I miss every part of gigging out on the road, and that is no exception. That feeling when you've kind of, at the end of the night, at the end of the tour, when you're heading home, and you've got all these kind of memories that you've just made behind you, and it's just the most kind of triumphant, elated feeling in the world. And if you've seen me in the flesh before, then you'll know that it's a bit of a tradition that folks sing along. There's like an echo to this, and if you're watching at home, I'd like to believe that you're singing along to this. And this song is called Northbound, and there's a section in the middle eight that describes a journey that I took through the kind of the northeastern states of America, and it was when there was another Canadian tour that me and Caitlin went on in 2017, and my brother at the time is living in Colorado, and we made this incredibly foolhardy decision. We thought that if we could, if we left Toronto a couple of days before we had to be in Winnipeg, then we could maybe do a detour and make it as far as Denver, Colorado to surprise my brother, and made it about as far as Cleveland, Ohio, and then realized that it was not going to happen and there was not going to be enough time to do it. So we kind of changed direction and headed back up north, back into Canada. But that is why everywhere that I describe in this song, we actually geographically went to on the same drive. And I only bring that up because somebody who I imagine was American once sent me a message and said, "How on earth did you end up going to all of those places which make no geographical sense at all?" And that's the answer. That trip did not make much geographical sense at all. But I can't wait to be back on the road, and I can't wait to be singing this song with the crowd hollering it back to me like in the old days. This is Northbound. M1 again, gone to AM. This lonesome road goes on forever. Espresso shot with a petrol stop. I will make my way, whatever. The road's so dark and the night's so deep, but I've got promises to keep. I've got miles upon miles upon miles to go before I sleep. By night and day, by motorway, I'll get there any godforsaken way. By road or rail, by sea to sail, if there's a way home I won't fail. I take my time, steady 70 straight down the line. Only one thing on my mind, hell or high water, come down. Oh, I'm northbound. One more late night on the Northern Line, and up to King's Cross I will follow. Guitar on back, and I'm right on track. Always racing with tomorrow, and coast to coast I ride alone. Just one more ghost on the last train home, and I've got miles upon miles upon miles to go, all on my own. By night and day, by motorway, I'll get there any godforsaken way. By road or rail, by sea to sail, if there's a way home I won't fail. I take my time, steady 70 straight down the line. Only one thing on my mind, hell or high water, come down. Oh, I'm northbound. And however far that I go, Toronto to Ohio, Vancouver to Chicago, halfway to Colorado, and into Minnesota, and down through North Dakota, into Buffalo, New York. I tell you every time we talk that if I could get to you, I'd walk. by night and day. By motorway, I'll get there any godforsaken way. By road or rail, by sea to sail. If there's a way home, I won't fail. I take my time, steady 70 straight down the line. Only one thing on my mind, hell or high water,